welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast special edition shows the 2024 NFL free agency and off-season preview and predictions. This is going to be the 15th of 32 shows, and this is going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars free agents to be, team needs, franchise tag candidate, trade candidate, release candidate, extension candidate, best draft fit, best free agent fit, and a bold prediction for each team. And like I said at the top, this is the Jacksonville Jaguars. All right. Free agents to be: Calvin Ridley, Ezra Cleveland, Josh Allen, Brandon McManus, Jamal Agnew. Those are the significant free agents on this team. And then the third-string quarterback, Matt Barkley, who they picked up from the Giants practice squad. Team needs: wide receiver, offensive tackle, guard, outside linebacker. I have with an asterisk in case something weird happens to Josh Allen. Inside linebacker and kicker. All right. Franchise tag candidate, Josh Allen. This is obvious. They have to franchise tag him. He's emerging as one of the best defensive players in the league. He is absolutely a stud. He is somebody that is the third-ranked free agent on Pro Football Focus. He was almost an A player from an overall grade standpoint. 19 sacks this past season, 2 forced fumbles, 35 solo tackles. He was outstanding. And even in 2022, he was really good as well. But yeah, he's gotten better and better every year, and they absolutely have to keep him. No excuses. Calvin Ridley to be done the franchise tag. I know he was good for them this past season. But Josh Allen, it's easy to find receivers. You got to keep the pass rusher. And it's important to rush the passer in today's NFL. You have C.J. Stroud in your division. You have Anthony Richardson coming back in your division. And in your conference, you have to defend Mahomes, and you have to defend Lamar Jackson, and Josh Allen, and Justin Herbert, and Tua. So, Jaguars under immense pressure to get Josh Allen tagged and signed. All right, the trade candidate. I went off the grind here and said Luke Farrell. He's their second-string tight end. They have Evan Ingram. And then the third string, Brenton Strange isn't terrible. He's a second-round pick from last year. They need to give him some playing time. Luke Farrell, I think, could be a good backup on somebody else's team, a team that needs tight end depth. So I could see them trading Luke Farrell. Walker Little, you can make a case for a trade. He's a tackle. You can make a case for C.J. Beathard, the backup quarterback. You can also make a case for Florenzo Fakatasi. You could argue a couple guys on this team for trade candidates. But to me, the one that sticks out the most is Luke Farrell, the second-string tight end. Release candidate. I'm going to say Cam Robinson. He got suspended last year. He is a good player, don't get me wrong. But to me, he's somebody that has all the makings of him being cut. He's 28 years old. I know he's still really young. Got paid, and then he got hurt last year, the year they made the playoffs. So, then the suspension. So, I could see a world where he's cut, and somebody else is going to potentially pick him up. So, Cam Robinson, to me, is a release candidate. You have some other ones on this team, too. Brandon Scherf, who was a big money free agent signing for them a couple years ago. Roy Robertson Harris, if they want to go that route. Florenzo Fatukasi, who I just brought up. Even Adam Gotsis, who they signed away from Denver. Fasadi Alakun, who they signed from Atlanta. I could see him being cut. That was another one I thought about. Rayshawn Jenkins, Darius Williams. I mean, there's a lot of release candidates on this team, but to me, the one that sticks out the most because of past injury history and the suspension last season, Cam Robinson. Extension candidate, this is easy. Trevor Lawrence. Trevor has to be paid. I know he didn't have the best season this past year, but he is somebody that is deserving of the bag. You pay for future projections, not past performance. This isn't a Daniel Jones situation where you have to be hesitant to pay him like the Giants probably were. And they probably had to do it at the time, and now it looks awful. But this isn't that situation. They have to get this done. And they're under more pressure to do this than the Bears are with Justin Fields because they have the luxury of keeping the number 1 pick and taking Caleb Williams. But Trevor, obviously, took the team to the playoffs, not this past season, but the season before that. He got hurt this year, so, you could argue he was playing hurt. So, they got to pay Trevor Lawrence. He's a more sure thing than Caleb Williams. He's a more sure thing than anything else that they could have long term. There's a reason there were high expectations for him coming into the 2021 draft. So you got to pay him. Other ones, obviously, Josh Allen. Travis Etienne's interesting in terms of an extension candidate. Devon Hamilton, maybe. Tyson Campbell is another extension candidate. So is Andre Sisco. So they have a lot of extension candidates. They have a lot of young players that they have to pay. But the most important is obviously Trevor. Draft fit, Keon Coleman, the wide receiver out of Florida State. So it looks like they're going to lose Ridley in free agency. I had Coleman mocked to the Jaguars in my last mock draft and my first mock draft as well. I might do one for the podcast on Thursday. That just makes a lot of sense. You just plug and play there, and he can come in and be good right away. If they're lucky, maybe Romeo Dunze drops to them. Other candidates for them for draft, Braylon Trace out of Washington. I think Brian Thomas if they trade back. Byron Murphy if they want to go offensive line. Jackson Powers-Johnson makes some sense. Troy Fatano makes some sense. Troy Franklin makes sense. Roman Wilson out of Michigan makes sense. But there's a lot of guys. Ladd McConkey out of Georgia, that makes sense for the Jags. And I think that Keon Coleman makes the most sense. Free agent fit. Robert Hunt. He's a free agent guard from the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins have a lot of free agents. They have him. They have Christian Wilkins. They have Connor Williams. And they still have to take care of Tua. So the Dolphins are going to be a team that's going to be facing a lot of turnover this offseason. Hopefully we get to that podcast soon. If we don't get to them today, we'll get to them tomorrow. If not, Thursday. But Miami's under a lot of pressure to who to franchise tag and who they might have to replace. So Robert Hunt is somebody that I think might walk. And I think the Jaguars would be an excellent fit for Robert Hunt. Other good fits for the Jags, Michael Pittman, who they could easily sign away from their rival. Mike Evans. I think that Leonard Williams is a good fit. Bryce Huff makes some sense. DJ Reader. I also think Kevin Dotson makes sense from the Rams if he were to become available. Chidobe Awuzie makes some sense. Chase Young, if they want someone to sign somebody that needs a change of scenery. I don't think they're going to sign any of the running backs. Kevin Zeitler makes some sense for the Jags. Frankie Louvu from the Panthers makes a lot of sense. But yeah, there's a lot of guys for Jacksonville that makes sense for free agency. But my bold prediction for this team is that the team extends Trevor Lawrence 5 for 275 and Josh Allen 5 for 125. I think they get both done. They need both guys. We talked about Trevor. They have to get it done. Just like the Bengals had to get it done with Burrow last year, and they did. And now the Jaguars have to get it done with Trevor. And I think they have to get it done with Josh Allen, too. That's a guy they can't afford to lose. He is one of the most underrated players in the entire league, bar none. And they have to lock both up, and I think they will lock both up. And I think that their owner, who is very, very hands-on in Shahid Khan, will do everything to keep these guys around. So, yeah. Okay, so future stuff. I do not think this team's going to be favored to win its own division. That's going to be the Texans, as it should be. But if the Jaguars were somehow over plus 250, and you could talk yourselves into, Houston could regress and they could be the 2023 Giants, a team that everybody, that nobody saw coming and everybody fell in love with, and then they take a step back. But I personally don't see that with the Texans unless if they lose some free agents and some weird stuff happens. But like I said, opinions can change in several months depending on who they cut and who they sign and who's traded and whatnot and what other teams around them do, draft, etc. But if the Jaguars are over plus 250 to win that division, I consider it. Win total. They're going to give that team some favoritism because of Lawrence. I project that win total to be 9. That just has all the makings of the Vegas win total being 9. I want to see Lawrence MVP and Jaguars Super Bowl real quick. I know Lawrence MVP is like 25-1, which is insane. I'm surprised it was that high. Jaguars Super Bowl is 35-1. Jaguars AFC is 17-1. And MVP for Trevor is 25-1. So he has the same odds as Aaron Rodgers and Tua. And freaking Jordan Love has better odds than him, which is insane. So that's interesting. Josh Allen, Defensive Player of the Year, I want to see. That would be like my long shot pick. And I could see that being even 25-1, I would bet it. If it's higher than 25-1, that's like an auto bet for me. I love Josh Allen. I think it's funny. Is it fair to say that he's the better Josh Allen? I know the more valuable Josh Allen is the Bills' Josh Allen, but the better player Josh Allen might be the Josh Allen on the Jaguars. He is that good. And I think that people just ignore him for some reason in terms of great defensive players. So I want to see what his odds are for Defensive Player of the Year. Travis Etienne Offensive Player of the Year would be like crazy, like 100-1, something nuts like that. Doug Peterson Coach of the Year is going to be a super duper long shot, and this is another Bill Belichick candidate. If the Jaguars don't win their division, they don't make the playoffs, say the Texans are better and the Colts are better with Anthony Richardson back, that could be a Bill Belichick possibility. I know I've been talking about like who are the Bill Belichick possibilities. That's another one. I don't think the Colts are one. I don't think the Texans are one. Green Bay might be. I don't think I brought them up in terms of a Bill Belichick possibility, but they should be if that team underachieves and the Bears and the Lions are good and Minnesota re-signs Cousins. So like there's a world where they're not as good and before it goes, and that could be the Belichick team. But yeah, I think it's more likely that Belichick ends up in Jacksonville than Green Bay, even though the NFC is weaker than the AFC. Because of the Trevor Lawrence hype, although Jordan Love's getting that hype right now too. So that's another possibility for Bill Belichick, the Jaguars. So we pretty much covered everything for the Jaguars. Next up, your 2-time reigning Super Bowl champion, the Kansas City Chiefs.